الأمر الثاني وهو تمييز العبادات بعضها عن بعض. تمييز العبادات بعضها عن بعض. النية لها أثر في تمييز العبادات، فإن بعض العبادات يكون واجب وبعضه مستحب، ولا يسقط الواجب عنك إلا بنيته. مثال ذلك بعض الناس أو بعض الإخوة ينسى صلاة الفجر فيقوم ويصلي ركعتين سنة لله عز وجل، ثم يقول لماذا لا أجعل هاتين الركعتين هي صلاة الفجر؟ نقول ما يصلح، لأنك لم تنوي صلاة الفجر من ابتداء هاتين الركعتين. إذن لا بد من النية لتمييز بين السنة والنافلة. مثاله في الصوم، شخص أفطر أياما من رمضان الماضي، ثم بعدما أفطر صام في أثناء هذه الأيام اثنين وخميس، أي يوم تطوع لله عز وجل، ثم بعد الصيام تذكر قال أنا علي يومين لم أصمها وأنا تطوعت ب4 أيام. شوف بعد انتهاء التطوع قال سأجعل يومين من الأيام التي تنفلت بها عن الفريضة، نقول ما يجزم، لأنك لم تنوي، والنية لها أثر في التفريق بين العبادات، تمييز بين عبادة الواجب والسنة. مثال في الزكاة، أنا ذهبت فوجدت فقيرا في الشارع فأعطيته مبلغا من المال، بعد يومين أو 3 حسبت زكاة مالي فإذا علي الزكاة 100 وأنا أعطيت الفقير 50، نقول خلاص نقص 50 من 100، إذا يجب علي من الزكاة 50. نقول لا، لو كنت نويت وقت إعطاء الفقير أنها من الزكاة تجزئك عن الزكاة وإن تقدمت عن وقتها بقليل، لكن أما بعد ما تعطيه المال تقول سوف أنوي بعد نهايتها، ما يصلح، يجب أن تكون نية موجودة، وهذا باتفاق أهل العلم.
As it relates to the second category, then, it's distinguishing the acts of worship from each other. Distinguishing the acts of worship from each other. For indeed, from amongst the acts of worship are those that are wajib, yani obligatory, and those that are mustahab, highly recommended. And an obligatory action doesn't fall from you by way of you performing a recommended action. So the obligation upon you to perform the obligatory action still remains with you, so long as you haven't had the niyyah to perform the obligatory action. Shaykh went on to give an example to make this clear. It may be the case that an individual has missed Salat al-Fajr. So he prays 2 rakats. And then he says after that, oh, I haven't prayed Fajr. So therefore, I'll make those 2 rakats that I've just prayed Fajr. The Shaykh says here, this wouldn't suffice for his Salat al-Fajr, because obviously the Salat al-Fajr is an obligatory action. It's an obligatory act of worship. It's one of the obligatory salawat. So therefore, it has to be accompanied with the niyyah. Before he performs that salah, he has to have the niyyah. So even though this person did that recommended rak'atayn, that it doesn't take the place of the obligatory rak'atayn, because the obligatory rak'atayn needed the niyyah. Going on to the example by way of fasting, that it may have been the case that an individual missed a day from Ramadan for a valid reason in the religion. So therefore, that which was upon that individual is to fast another day in replacement of that day from any of the days of the year. So that person fasted some of the days of the year by way of supererogatory fasting. And then he thinks, I remember the day that I missed the day from Ramadan, and that was an obligatory fast. So I'll make one of those days that I fasted, one of the recommended fasting, I'll make one of those days replace the day that I missed in Ramadan. The Shaykh said here that this would not suffice the fasting that he missed in Ramadan, because this fasting that he missed in Ramadan is an obligatory fast. And an obligatory action needs the niyyah. It needs the correct intention in relation to that act of worship. So therefore, it wouldn't suffice the fasting in Ramadan. Rather, he would have to fast another day with the intention that it's an obligatory action, thereby showing the intention differentiates between the different acts of worship, from in between the obligatory actions and the supererogatory actions. Another example in relation to zakah, that the Shaykh mentioned that if a person was to give sadaqah to a poor person. And then afterwards, he remembered that he has to give the zakah. And let's say, for instance, that which was upon him was 100 riyals, or if you're from America, $100, or if you're from the UK, £100. However, you gave that poor person half of the zakah, 50 riyals, £50, $50. And you say to yourself, I'm only going to give out of my zakat now 50. I'm only going to give 50 because I've already given 50 to the poor person. The Shaykh said here that that wouldn't suffice. What you gave to that poor person wouldn't suffice as the zakah because it didn't have the intention of zakah. So you'd still have to give that 100 because when you gave that 50 to that poor person, you didn't have the intention of it being zakah. And as you know, the zakah is an obligatory act of worship, thereby showing that the niyyah or the intention differentiates between the acts of worship. As for if an individual was to make the intention when he gave that 50 to that poor person, his intention was that this will be from my zakah, knowing that zakah would have been obligatory upon him, and he makes the intention that this is from my zakah, then this is permissible by consensus of the ulama.